Okay, so we are given this scenario here, and we have to calculate the average distance, the mode, the median, the first and the third quartiles. So how are we going to go about that? Right, let me remove this here. Right, so the girls netball team went to 25 matches over the first term. The girls measured the distance of each trip and sorted them into groups. Below are the results. So we have the distance column and the frequency column. Now, what you need to be aware of, is that this information that is given here is grouped data. So the way you're going to find the mode, the median, and the mean is different from that of ungrouped data. So you need to be aware of that. So the first question says that determine the approximate average distance of the girls' trips. So how are we going to go about finding the average distance? This is the important thing that you need to take note of. Let me highlight it. So we're looking at the average distance. So average distance simply means that you have to calculate the mean. So you don't have to be intimidated and ask yourself, what is it that I'm going to be looking for? It's very simple. You basically are going to be looking for the mean. So how are we going to go about it? Right. So, what we're going to do is come here and there. Yes. So how are we going to do it? The first thing that we want to do is to calculate the midpoint. The midpoint of this information that we have here. So we're going to make another smaller column for ourselves. Right. And we're going to calculate the midpoint. So the midpoint between 0 and 5, we know that it's 2.5. 2.5. There we go. This is my 5 here. Let me do it so that you can see it. Let me write it properly. So that you can see. So you have 2.5. There we go. And then the midpoint between 5 and 10 is 7.5. So we have 7.5. Then the midpoint between 10 and 15 is 12.5. The midpoint between 15 to 20 is 17.5. We have 17.5 here. And then lastly, we have the midpoint between 20 and 25. It's going to be 22.5. There we go. Now, before I forget, you need to calculate the total of the frequency. So we're going to add the frequency column. So it's going to be 3 plus 6 plus 8 plus 7 plus 1 is 25. So we're going to write 25 over here. We're going to need this in order to calculate the mean. Now from here, we're now going to, let me just change the color. I'm going to use purple. We're going to have to calculate, we're going to multiply the frequency with the midpoint. So in this column that I'm going to make here, we'll be basically calculating the product of the frequency and the midpoint. So I'm going to say 3 times 2.5 is 7.5. So I'm just going to do this here. So it's 7.5. 7.5. And then 6 times 7.5, it's 45. There we go. And then 8 times 12.5 is 100. And then we say 7 times 17.5 is 122. 122.5. Then 1 times 22 is simply 22.5. So we have 22.5. There we go. From here, we're going to add in this column that we have of frequency multiplied by midpoint. We're going to add it and write the total over here. So we're going to say 7.5 plus 45 plus 100 plus 122.5 plus 22.5. It's going to give us 297.5. Now we are ready to calculate the mean. So what is it that we're going to do? We're going to say, okay, mean. Okay, let me just change the color so that we see what's going on here. So I'm going to write my mean over here. And then we're going to write, the first thing that we're going to do on top, we're going to write this total that we calculated over here, which is 297.5. We're going to divide it by the total of the frequency, which is 25. Meaning my mean will be equal to 11.9. There you go. That's how you calculate the mean, especially when you're given a grouped data, and it's different when you are given ungrouped data. So let's go back to our questions. We've calculated the average that they wanted. Let's look at the other question. So it says that what is the model group of the data? So when you're looking for the model group in grouped information or group data, what you need to look for, you look at the frequency column and you look for the highest number. So we look for the highest number, and we can definitely see that the highest frequency that we have is 8. But we're not going to write 8. We're going to look at the interval that corresponds with the 8. So our interval here is, for B, our answer basically is 10 to 15. So that is the answer for B, alphabet B. Third question. Determine the median and the first and third quartiles. Okay, we're going to first start with the median. The median is the middle term, right? But how are we going to find it in grouped information or group data? How are we going to go about it? Okay, so in order to get the median, you need to make a different column, which is called the cumulative frequency. So how do we find the cumulative frequency? Okay, so we're going to make a column here, especially for cumulative frequency. Right, so we have a column there. Right, we know that the total number here is still 25. So let me do this. Let me just make these lines here to divide this. Right, so we're going to say, the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to say 3 plus 0 because it's the first one. It's 3. And then you're going to say 3 plus 6 over here. It is 9. And then we say this 9 over here, we add it with this 8 over here. It's going to give us 17. And then 17 plus 7 is 24. We have 24 here, and 24 plus 1 is 25. Make sure that the number that you get here is the same as this one. If that is not the case, just know you've made a mistake somewhere and try to redo the whole thing again. Now, from here, how we're going to go about finding the median. We have a formula to get the median. The median is, we know that formula for the median is n plus 1 over 2. So the total number that we have here is 25. So we're going to say 25 plus 1. We're going to divide by 2. So this is basically 25 plus 1 is 26. 26 divided by 2 is 13. So the position, okay, let me do this first. Let me write it somewhere else, not here. Let's just write this whole information somewhere else. Let me just rewrite it here. We have n plus 1 over 2, and then we say it's basically 25 plus 1 over 2, and the answer that we got was 13. Right, so this 13 here that we got here is the position. It tells us where to look at the source. And so we're going to go to the cumulative frequency. In order to identify where 13 lies, we have to make, I like to make a small line and an interval by the side. So we have 0 to 3 here. And this interval that we have over here is 4 to 9. And this will be 10 to 17. From here we have 18 to 24, and lastly this is just going to be 25. So we're going to check where 13 lies. So we see that it definitely lies. Let me just use a different color here. It definitely lies between 10 and 15. We're not going to write 10 and 15. We're going to look at the original interval. So the one that it corresponds with is 10 to 15, meaning our answer is going to be 10 x it's less than or equal to 15. There we go. So this is basically our median. We're not going to write this one. No. Right. So we found the median. Now we need to find the first and the third. This is just basically the lower quartile and the upper quartile. Right. So let me just find space to write that. In order to find the lower quartile, we have a formula for that in group data. So we're going to say Q1, which represents the lower quartile, equals to n plus 1. We're going to divide it all by 4. So we simply substitute from here. So n, we know that is the number of the total number, which is going to be 25. We're going to add it with 1. We divide by 4. And 24 plus 25, plus 1 divided by 4, it's going to give us 6.5. So we have 6.5. So this is the position, remember. So we're going to go and check where this position lies in the cumulative frequency. So let's go back. We have this information here, and we want to check where 6.5 lies. So we can see that 6.5 lies here. Okay, let me choose a different color. It lies here. We're not going to write 4 to 9, but we check the interval that it corresponds with. So it corresponds with 5 to 10. So that is our answer. That is our lower quartile. So let me go back and write it. So it's 5 to 10. 5 to 10. So I'm going to write it here. So our answer is 5 less than x less than or equal to 10. That is our answer for the lower quartile. Now we find the upper quartile and then we're done. Right, so let's go back. No, before we go back, let's just write the formula and find the position and see where it lies. So we're going to write, we want to change the color. Right, so we're going to say Q3 equals to, now it's different. The formula for the upper quartile and lower quartile are different. For the lower quartile, we see that it's just n plus 1 divided by 4. But for the upper quartile, you're going to put 3 here, and then you write your n plus 1 on the inside of a bracket, n plus 1. There we go, close it, and then we're going to divide it all by 4. Then from here, you just substitute. So you have 3. And we know that is 25 plus 1, close, we divide it by 4. So what is the answer for this? Put all of this in your calculator and you should get 19.5. So this is the position of the upper quartile. So we're going to go and locate it in our cumulative frequency. So let's go back and check it where, let's check where it lies. Sorry. So we got 19.5. 19, we can definitely see that 19.5 lies here. So if it lies there, we check the interval that it corresponds with. We're not going to write 18 to 24 here. No. So we check the interval that it corresponds with, and we can definitely see that it corresponds with 15 to 20. So that is our answer. That is our upper quartile. So we're going to write it. Write our answer as, what was the answer? It's 15 to 20, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check it again. 15 to 20, yes. So we write 15 to 20. So we're going to write it here. So we have 15 is less than x is less than or equal to 20. There we go. And that's just basically it. This question was not difficult. You just need to be able to distinguish between group data and ungrouped data so that you know how to go about calculating or